You're listening to White Noise with your host, Drip, 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 Drip.
White Noise, episode 20. We're back. Drip, khal, as always. Real quick, this is the 1 year anniversary of the first time all four of us linked up in person.
That's actually nuts. I saw you shared the one video of us in the hotel.
Yeah,
with Gene and Black
Gene
John
and
Studd.
John.
That's crazy. It's nuts because it's also like the first time I met Brian H. Waters in real life. You like Banks, Eve. Shouts out to Suku,
Royal.
the voice you heard in the intro. Royale.
Yes, definitely shout out to her. Yeah. Royale,
shit. First time I met everybody. Really, it was first time I'd been outside to you as well. First time you like did a bunch of stuff.
But, yeah. You know, should I send this to you real quick? Let me see, because I found this on a random Google search. I was just curious. It's like when you wake up in the middle of the night and you can't go back to sleep, you just start like, let me see something real quick.
No, yeah, it's called The Story. That's called me trying to get to bed.
Yeah.
Every time I'm like, oh yeah, wait, hold on. There's 20. I got a little bit time left. Let me organize all of the Black wrestling images from the last 5 years. Like, it's just what you start doing.
That's the thing, but I just emailed it to you. It was an image that I couldn't find it at the time. But I was able to find it out in this article randomly by like typing in the event that we were at.
Where? Yeah. See, I wasn't around for this.
Yeah.
This was a different time. Hold up, let me throw this in there. That's pretty crazy. Actually, I saw
that's what I mean, right?
I saw that, man. But you mentioned that, and it's funny because like I hung out with Brian H. Waters a year ago, and then I hung out with him again.
Ben was there too, but this, look at
this is hard.
The Color Me Bad reboot.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Damn, Fam had a really big timepiece on right there.
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
a really big timepiece on. That's hard. That was Wale Mania.
Yeah. For some reason, like, let me just Google Wale Mania and see what comes up. And there's like this article. I think it's Hip Hop Dallas or something.
Wait, what? Wait, Hip Hop Dallas.
Oh no, allhiphop.com is what it is, and it says Wale.
You're on allhiphop.com.
Yeah, it says Wale brings out hip hop and wrestling stars for Wale Mania 2022, and there's a whole bunch of other people in that you may recognize in the photo.
Yeah, it's everybody's out there.
Yeah, but I'm like, oh my god, like I'm in this random collage.
No, that's nuts. That's actually crazy. Hold
right?
I'm gonna get a screen grab of like a part because I don't know who most of these people are, but it's interesting company to
be in, right? Yeah,
to be in,
and shows the crazy world that I'm now involved in.
And like you said, you had no idea. You didn't know this existed until you went. To find the image.
I'm like, I know we took the picture, but there was like no way to find it. I'm like, let me just see Wale Mania and see like if there are random images. Like the one we show of Sparks in the leather pants or all that. And I'm like, that like our picture had to be somewhere. There it is. Yeah. I'm like,
that's crazy. Just chilling amidst West Side Gun, the guys from Grapsody. Emilio's in a bunch of pictures. There's other ones with up top the Street Profits.
Chris Bay,
Jade Cargill. Yeah, Chris Bay, if you're looking because see those Jordan 6s up there, those Carmines, the red and white and black shoes at the very top. Those are Chris Bay shoes because of course they are.
Yeah.
This is dope. That's actually fucking hilarious. This ain't got nothing to do with nothing.
No, because you were out and about. You took some pictures with Emilio Sparks last night. You went to Full Gear, the first AEW show in person. Let's talk on it for a little bit.
It was the first time I've been to an AEW show. It's the second pay-per-view I've been to
in a 3-month span.
Yeah, like literally in a year. Got to it's the first time I'd ever been to the Prudential Center in Newark. I also didn't realize how easy it was to get there. It's just like it's minutes from the train. Walking with the AEW collective is funny because at one point they just like they don't really care about street lights or like when it's time to walk or not. They just said, psh, and then
that's not just like a New York thing or New Jersey. I'm walking here.
I don't know where they came from to know what their situations are. But it was funny to see.
Why don't you go back to Secaucus?
But it was cool because I actually hold up. I was One Day Media for.
But you didn't go to the scrum.
I did not.
You let us down.
What time did that show end?
Yeah, you are right. Yeah,
I had to. I was what my plan. I'm totally out of place. My plan was, if I could get a lift, I would eat the lift charge home. By the time I got, because I figured trying to get a lift around the Prudential Center would have been madness. So I was going to go by the train station. By the time I got over there, they were talking like $100 for a lift, and it was even more for an Uber. So I said, I'm gonna go catch a train. I was a second from the train leaving, so I had to catch like a 1 o'clock in the morning train. But it was cool. I spent the train ride catching up on the scrum and seeing shit like MJF with the knuckle dusters. Because I was like a decent enough way back. I didn't get to see things like that.
Yeah.
But not it was overall like the stuff that I wanted to see, the stuff that I thought that it was going to be dope. It was cool to see shit like that live. There was like only so much of that I like. And even matches where I thought I was going to be hyper for the 4-way. It was cool to see Danielson come out in real life, but it was in the midst of Jericho. And actually, one thing that I thought was cooler in person is Sammy Guevara's his entrance.
Okay.
I've seen it briefly because it's a whole Dragon Ball Z thing.
The new one, yeah.
They had he's flying. He kicks Darby Allin's ass. He kicks they animated 2 or 3 different AEW wrestlers. It was just really cool to see the level of a dedication they put into just this thing that like I said, I've not even sought out to see the whole thing, but it was cool to see that. I feel like I should be big, I should I would MJF won the title and then I could care less. We'll
talk about that. That's kind of the subject of today's episode in a way.
At the end of it, I'm like, there's cool stuff that's going on, but I'm not yeah, that was dope. It was fun overall, but I kind of I just like the pay-per-view was building up. I kind of felt like there was something missing.
Mm-hmm.
You're
right.
There was something
happened,
that
it's but they did the right thing and he won. It was it was but again, they built it to that point where you knew it was coming, but for some reason, again, not for some reason, we're wrestling fans. We always expect more, no matter what it is, in a way. And people were like, "Oh, the Firm could have come out,
right?
Regal could have shown his hand a little bit more towards tipping and scaling. And just again, one hit from the Nux kind of does it, and Moxley's out. And this is again John Moxley who walks through glass and barbed wire and just one punch and it's done." That's where I kind of felt flat. That oh, okay. But again, they did it. He wanted that. That was the whole point, was just to get the title.
They had to do
on MJF, and they did it in a way where the crowd was rooting for him and been rooting for him since he came back. And we'll get into that in a way where think about how this man's career started in AEW. I mean, he was this most despicable, diabolical heel that ever was for this generation, at least, and for this company. No one was more hated and
wanted to be hated.
Yeah, but he was paired with Cody, and the whole time it was just gonna count down until this man betrays his mentor, and that's why it was some bad TV. A lot of their stories. I mean, that was the thing last night, the Jamie Hayter momentum shifted to like Jamie Hayter was now the crowd favorite, but in a way she has been the crowd favorite for a long time,
right?
In the run up, and like Toni Storm has, but they had been preferring Jamie Hayter over Toni Storm, and you saw kind of like the Hangman Page thing now transfer over to Toni Storm. We're like, yeah, you're this cool babyface champ, but we want to see this person win instead.
Right. I will say this. This is the first time I've actually been like early for like I Extreme Rules. I kind of showed up and things. It like the show hadn't started, but like things were kind of like in motion. I sat down, and then like Justin Roberts comes out, and this was before, it was maybe like 10-15 minutes before 0 Hour started, and he's talking to the crowd, you know, and he's doing like, you know, crowd work. He was like, you know, what matches, who do you want to see win?
Yeah, when my dad and I went this year to that Dynamite TV, it was kind of the same that we had gotten there just in time to the dark tapings being recorded and all that. So again, you're just kind of like sitting down, and he's warming up the crowd, and then you kind of see the pre-show stuff happen, and in between that, it's still like filler, like he's talking to you and all that. But you had said the crowd was going crazy for Jamie Hayter, and
the crowd was, they were big. I'm looking at, because even when because they also were flashing the match, the individual match cards, and you would see people like they would react, you know, to certain people. But yeah, it was definitely Jamie Hayter when he went through between Jamie Hayter and Toni Storm. It was like immediate Hayter love, Toni Storm, not just like Toni Storm silence, like boos. They were.
Do you want to speak on that, given your involvement?
Well,
as of late.
See, well, I think the thing is, and it's hard to even know if this is a thing, right?
You mean your involvement with it?
No. I'm saying if my involvement was a reason is to anything being the case. But you know, Seahawk did a piece that went up this past week on the Ringer that was about it was a conversation with Toni Storm, and Toni was, as she's been for months,
very vocal
about the interim world, or the interim women's world championship situation, which essentially is because Thunder Rosa is injured, she can't perform as AEW Women's Champion. But Tony Khan wasn't stripping her of the title, even though she's not been. It's been since August or something like that.
Yeah, because they faced each other at Forbidden Door.
Right. So
they had a great match at Forbidden Door, and then I think a week or two later she does the because it was just a week or two right after CM Punk's vacating the title, and
it was at the same time, yeah. But they were supposed to have a match, I think, early September, one of those shows, and Thunder Rosa
the rematch. Yeah,
she wasn't going to be able to perform because of the injuries to her back, and she was going to be out for a bit. So that's when Toni won the title at, was it All Out?
All Out. Yeah,
and she won it at All Out, and she's been kicking ass ever since. She like 3 or 4 successful defenses, as well as just being an all-around dope performer. Yeah. And
I was happy about that, because I think she should have beaten Thunder Rosa at Forbidden Door.
I think that was the idea, or the thought was because Thunder Rosa been holding the title for a bit, and I had a feeling that if they were going to drop the title, it was going to be to Toni Storm at that time.
The whole thing was like Thunder Rosa was the person to finally end Britt Baker's reign of terror, and then like I said, Thunder Rosa beats Serena Deeb at Double or Nothing.
Right.
She beats Toni Storm at Forbidden Door. They have the rematch. She then says, I can't compete. And much like the CM Punk thing, gets an injury with a small timetable in terms of like inactivity. So we're not going to strip it completely. And that's the thing that boxing and UFC does, which is a whole like, why is there an interim involved? And the whole point, so when the champ comes back, like what they did with Punk Moxley, that there will now be a rightful undisputed champ.
They'll have that one big match. It's like it's ready made, yeah.
And the whole point of last night threw the wrench into that. And who knows, like you were saying, like, is this the backstage involvement of like Toni Storm speaking out against Thunder Rosa? Because there might be Shawn Michaels, I gotta vacate this title because my knee isn't in the best shape. Oh, your knee's actually pretty good. You can wrestle right away. Oh, whoa, hey, yeah, I'll come back. Yeah,
exactly, exactly.
And maybe there was the disappointment that she didn't want to maybe do the job for Toni Storm, and then now that Jamie Hayter again, the whole argument is that Jamie Hayter has been on the rise for about 6 months now, so it's not like it's unjustified.
And there's the whole story about them like living together in the pandemic.
I don't even mean the story. I was just like reaction. Like Jamie Hayter's been becoming that fan favorite for the months. Like
I'm just saying, like in addition to everything, like it's a good story and a good time if they wanted to, give Jamie Hayter the title. But the question is always going to be, was Toni, did she drop the title at that time because of what she's been saying in the public in places like The Ringer and other publications, or is it something else? And
if I'm not mistaken, that she won't even be qualified as an AEW Women's Champion going forward if Jamie Hayter or Thunder Rosa wins, because that will legitimize Jamie Hayter's reign, and then Thunder Rosa's reign will remain intact in terms of it just had a stopgap in between. It's tricky, like when the UFC and boxing does that as well.
That was part of her point as well, though. She was kind of like,
I think she's right.
I mean, she says, "Look, I've been this person since All Out.
Mm-hmm.
I've been rocking. I've been running with this. I've been representing the division and putting on great matches, and now it feels like it was for nothing. The last 3-4 months or whatever, you can basically throw it out the window because she never got the official title." And
sounds like Tony Khan booking, Cal.
But is that on, like, he doesn't like, you don't think he thinks like maybe that's a problem?
Let me reiterate what I was kind of saying on Thursday on Black Wrestling Proper.
Go ahead.
Where and it goes back to that Ricky Starks thing in a way where, like, you're showing me what you care about.
Yes.
By you postponing this tournament to go after the paper, you're showing that, like, one, it's already in the bag for Ethan Page. It doesn't matter. Like, so you're just wasting our time, and it shows what little respect you have for Ricky Starks. Because, like I said, you could have pulled him like Jon Moxley stepped out. Miro was slotted in, and the tournament continued as is. That's a year ago. Exactly a year ago, because that was last year's Full Gear. You could have taken Ricky Starks out, put someone new in, and then we still could have gotten to the exact point we're going to get, which is Ethan Page winning this tournament because MJF is now the champion, which we all kind of thought was going to happen when they set the brackets and when MJF was kind of making this babyface turn. And Tony Khan has constantly shown who matters and who doesn't. Right. We talked about, it's funny how our glide on the off days will have the greatest wrestling conversation. But then when it's time to hit the red light, we got to do bullshit about Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. But it's still great content.
I think the problem is we have the conversation offline, and because we've had the conversation,
you don't want to have to get
it's hard to, like, I think there's certain situations where we can do that and add context to it, but if we have a finite conversation, it's tough to be like, hey, let's talk about that thing that we talked about 3 days ago, and hope it's as good as the conversation we had the other day.
And the points Matt was making were brilliant with, like, look what they've done with ROH. And like I said on Thursday, Tony Khan didn't know what to do with ROH. So what do you do? Chris Jericho needs something to do. We'll just give him ROH.
Right.
And that has slowly eaten away the rest of AEW in terms of, like, now this show or this company has to exist within this other company that he barely has a handle on.
Yeah.
So now it has to take time away from this guy, this girl, this tag team constantly. Again, Mercedes Martinez just came back. No one was talking about why is the ROH women's title not being defended or vacated.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Samoa Joe just became the double TV champ last night. Your man Godzilla.
That Godzilla raids again. Yeah, that shit was so amazing to me.
Again, FTR sits on their ass and bitches while being champions of 3 different companies, but, can't get TV time on AEW unless it's defending the ROH World title.
Right.
And Chris Jericho, like I said, has to have a fatal 4-way against Claudio, who, great wrestler, going to put on a hell of a performance last night, like he can do. Sammy Guevara, and they have to once again tease dissension within a faction. Like, Who sees Britt Baker betraying Jamie Hayter coming up? I do. Do you?
Well, that's the thing that killed me. Hold up, I love this being there to see this happen was one of my favorite parts of the one. When I'm thinking about, it's probably like one of my top 3.
Even though I sent this like that to Banks last time. Like this is like when Ray Allen won the title of the Heat. Like this man is kind of cooked. His best years are behind him, but he got a championship still. Like he can break out the hits when he needs to, but like.
Although, I mean, he freed up Wardlow. We can talk about that in a bit, but he freed up Wardlow, which could be, a
and
thing.
Poor Wardlow once again is now another failed TNT champ since the Cody Rhodes, Sammy Guevara debacle of like there's an interim champ for 2 weeks. Why? Because dickhead Cody Rhodes decides to fuck everything up.
Wait, all right. I'm sorry, Trip. I don't want to go on.
It actually starts with Tony Khan putting the title on the worst babyface of all time in Sammy Guevara because he proposed to his girl. Only then to like dump her weeks later. Like,
but wait, Drip. Let me. I don't want to go off on a rant, right? But when you think about how many different titles are defended on AEW television, like every AEW title, almost every ROH title, for the most part, whatever ones that matter, a number of at least 2 AAA titles have been
the Mega Championship was defended at in the beginning, and now the AAA tag titles not as much, but they have been.
I mean, they're on TV.
Either way, these other companies' titles take up airtime. The IWG
Impact
US Heavyweight title had matches on there when Jon Moxley was defending that.
At a certain point, with so many titles, and interim titles as well, trios there were like 4 or 5 title matches on the card Full Gear last night. There are so many things, so many storylines for this one guy to get done. It seems like that TNT championship specifically lands on someone, and then it's just they don't.
Since the start of this year, it has started to matter less and less. Like we did that whole episode about like you put this title on the Ricky Starks, and I'll just not to always go back to Ricky Starks, but that's someone who can make a title matter because you can do week by week storytelling, or you can drag out a 2-month story. Orange Cassidy's basically doing that with the All Atlantic title, and it's been amazing. Yeah. The Death Triangle were on pace to do that with the trios, and now they've been locked into a 7-match series. And again, since this man is the worst booker of all time, he says now it's a best of 7 series after the first match happened, but I didn't even tell you the first match was 1 of 7. It was just as is. And
I was so confused. I was literally because people started cheering.
And he doesn't care unless, like you said, it's fan service, what the crowd wants, and the crowd wants more of Death Triangle, more of the Elite, which I don't blame him.
I'm not mad, and I'm not even mad at it. I will watch every one of these matches, but like I was happy to see, like I just got through the story of Rey Fenix overcoming whatever good guy shit he had into him. Keek said
his brother's the angel on one shoulder, and then Pac is the devil on the other shoulder. Like it to be true. Like
Keeks was on IG. She said, "What was your favorite moment from the show?" I said, "When Rey Fenix was bashing fucking Kenny Omega in the skull with that damn hammer. He bashed his brains in."
What did you think of the entrance, real quick? Because
the entrance of
Banks like
the
this
Elite?
is actually dope. Yeah, Banks like this is a dope entrance.
I didn't care. Like I genuinely did not care.
You're not a big fan of Kansas.
I don't know if it was the stick tosses. Shouts out to the Prudential Center. I felt like a king. I don't know if it was the reverse retro. Shouts out to Adidas Hockey for lacing me. It like came in at the perfect time. But I went up there to get a drink, and she was like, "Oh, da 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 da, look, 3rd jersey." I'm like, this just came in the mail. But I was maybe like, because that was the second match.
Second match, yeah, they had Jungle Boy Luchasaurus for the first.
So match. I saw the 10-man tag, Ricky Starks, that Eddie Kingston and Akiyama fucking brutal battle, and a cage match.
Yeah.
Like
shouldn't the show be over? And like
there's always something going. I was just I felt so lost at certain points. And like I said, I don't know if it was like 3 or 4 drinks. I grabbed a couple stick tosses, and I realized that they had tall Heinekens like midway through the show.
So
it was I only need like I was maybe like 3 because the stick tosses are like a little shorter than these, so I grabbed it like maybe an extra one. The shouts out
try to do like 2 on top. You're like, this equals 1 Heineken. Like
I thought I was gonna buy 2, but I don't know what their rules are in buying like one person buying multiple drinks.
Rowdy Cal.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of I may have stood up and said, "Hit him with the fucking hammer."
No, the Kenny Omega wins, and then you just throw the cannon.
I was well. This like I'm all in this environment. I'm ready to be disappointed. So I wasn't even like tripping over like winners or losers, but like they have that story because they teased it and then he actually did it.
Yeah,
that happens. I'm like I'm hyped because Death Triangle won, and I thought they were going to lose, and then I hear the crowd cheering, and I'm like, what's going on?
Because Death Triangle did win, and that means Death Triangle will be breaking up in 3 months.
That's got to be what it is at a certain point, right? Like it feels. I don't know why. Is that the breakup of the Lucha Bros and Pac?
Yeah, the Lucha Bros won't break up.
I'm fine with that.
Them cutting Pac out and maybe Phoenix and Penta kind of going on their own a little bit, but not like.
At least them having a little bit of
one going after like a singles, them going after singles titles in a way, but the Lucha Brothers still being together.
Get Penta going in that. Give Penta the TNT Championship. Let that man just carry that hardware around. Why not?
And that's the thing. And like I said, like by Tony Khan's, like I said, I've said this numerous times, and Mimi's right to say it's fantasy booking, but like it literally just is like new toy syndrome with him. Like I don't want to play with this one anymore. Here, it's off to the side. Like
no, but wait, Drip. But did you see? Can we talk about things? I'm sorry to cut you off. Talk about things that went up on the Ringer. Did you read the Tony Khan piece that went up?
No.
I'm gonna tell you, like if you it gets into a little bit of current stuff, but shouts out to Ian. The majority of that piece is Tony Khan, obsessive pro wrestling fan at like 8-9 years old, to starting Dynamite, which I didn't realize Dynamite was a name that he'd been using that name ever since he started like fantasy booking, and he was doing e-wrestling. He was coming up. He was basically there's some account that follows a Black Wrestling account that has like an e-wrestling show that they do. There's another one actually that like they book their own promotion, but it's just with black figures, like black wrestling figures, and it's like I think Virgil may be one of the commentary, Ron Simmons like an authority figure, and then it's just black figures like fighting for titles. But he would have like a Tuesday night Dynamite or a Thursday night Dynamite, like that's been his thing. Not to say that I did not already realize that, but it made so much more sense because he would say things like, he learned how to deal with people not liking his booking decisions because he's like thousands of people tweeting at him saying that they don't like his shit is fine because he's been dealing with
is it though? Because why did he claim when the titles 2 weeks after the crowd wanted them to win it all out?
Hold on. What I'm saying is he's learned how he was basically teaching himself how to book for people in like because he made the idea. It's like the idea of booking for smaller audiences. You know what I mean? So like let's say I was a rapper and I'm writing rhymes and I'm recording shit, and you were the only person that listened to them. And if you didn't like something that I did, you were like, you know what, this is trash. I would take that line out. Like it starts to, you start to, learn how to take criticism. So I think he was doing this as a teen. This is before the NFL, in concurrent with some of that stuff too, I imagine. But
some of the decisions there have been like, what are you doing? Like
that part too, but like decades of understanding or decades of trying to understand what's going to work for people. It's why I'm not surprised when he makes a booking decision. People, disagree with it online, and then a couple of weeks later he tries to rectify it, or he actually gives the people what they want, because I mean, when I don't want to call it fan service, but it is a very much fan service to that point where, oh, you don't like this isn't working, let me reconfigure this so it can actually be something that you want to see. Because at the end of the day, those people just want to. Jungle Boy gets in the ring. I didn't know what was going on in that cage, but that music hits. Oh,
Yeah.
like they want to get up and do. Like they just want to see who they want to see. They want to see Eddie Kingston out there. I don't think they really care if he's winning or losing that match.
No, that's why I said on Thursday night, and I didn't really mean it as a diss, but I mean, like,
No.
again, but when I said like Eddie Kingston and his fetishization of like Japanese wrestling, like, no, like he said numerous times, like the 4 pillars of All Japan inspired him to become a wrestler, and that's why Eddie Kingston can go on the 0 hour and have these matches against Ishii and Akiyama, and do King's Road style wrestling, because the fans want to see him do that. But for Tony Khan's like, I can't really fit this into a story,
right?
Because when I tried, you beat up the guy you're having the feud with. Like, no, and that's what I mean. Like, with the inmates running the asylum aspect, and not to get, I mean, we will do a CM Punk episode soon once that gets settled and all that. But like the fuck CM Punk chants, like I just rewatched the dog collar match from Revolution. They went crazy when that man came out to Mysterio Kantara by AFI.
Yeah.
And that's in the same year, Cal. I was there when he returned in Minneapolis, and he was the savior. And again, one backstage brawl against, again, the crowd favorites, the chosen guys, the guys in that company, as we discussed on Thursday. Like, of course, the Elite are going to get their title back. They're those guys. They're the company's guys.
Literally the company. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. We're like, and it's hard for any booker. Again, like Vince McMahon fucked us for so many years of not giving us what we wanted. Again, we became jaded and hard into like, oh, we'll never see anything. But that's why something like Kofi Mania did matter.
Right.
That's why Sasha Bianca did matter.
Right.
That's why Bobby Lashley beating Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania to retain the title mattered, and to go on and go forth. Or like sitting through 6 years of Roman Reigns as this baby face that, like, God, please just like do something else with this guy, that we finally get the tribal chief, and like the company's back is on him, like it was, but now in the sense like the people are behind him, and that's what they wanted. And Tony Khan is just all what the people want, all with him, that he sacrifices story, and then he'll focus on the story like Luchasaurus Jungle Boy, like, this story isn't good, I don't want to see this story. How many times in the same program of like pay-per-view to pay-per-view are we going to get my tag partner betrayed me? Because now we just left Jungle Boy Luchasaurus to now head into most likely Jamie Hayter, Britt Baker. Like, you will recycle, and that Keith Lee and Swerve in the same night took that baton going, and that was the moment they were paired together. It's like, this won't last, and they won the tag. And that's,
I will say that's
and not to turn this into a whole 20 kind of thing, but like when the aftermath of a pay-per-view right away, and we finally get the result that they've been waiting, and we'll get to the point of like they waited to crown this guy, who has been picked as the one from day one. Cody Rhodes, ironically enough, like, this guy is the future of pro wrestling, and I was like, him, this guy.
He's saying that because of how unabashedly like he is his character, right? Like how full force he is in being that asshole, and
I legit think he saw it right away. I mean, they just like for some reason the Young Bucks said, like, when we saw Hangman Page, when he was just Adam Page, like, we knew like this guy,
they knew what it was,
the guy for them. And I'm like, again, him, like
him,
yeah. And he becomes a Hangman, and then he gets away from the kind of negative thing cast with that, and becomes like cowboy shit Hangman on Page. Like, this guy's fucking awesome. Like, holy shit. Like, same thing, MJF becoming, again, typical jock heel, cocky. He does every trick in the book. He'll low blow, he'll poke the eye, get you with a ring. And now he's this baby face because the world turned him cruel, is why he is the way he is. Like, he couldn't go to the WWE. And I mean, if you have that image of did you load the images that I sent?
I got everything. Which one you want?
So go with the one of him and the other 4 pillars. Him talking. So again, like, he's at the first ever AEW press conference when they announced All Elite Wrestling will be starting later this year, and like the other 4 pillars that he's associated with, he's all surpassed from the moment that day was announced, and
that's facts. He has surpassed is a good point. He's gone further than.
But I don't even think you can say he surpassed because he already had a 2-lap lead compared to Jungle Boy, who was like the son of a famous TV star. Sammy Guevara was the high spot guy that like he can't talk, and then Darby Allin's the flip side of like he's a full character like MJF. And that they're like the only real mirror comparison between each other in terms of like the pillars. The other two guys are just high spot guys that are going to be burdened by their lack of mic skills. But Darby Allin, go ahead.
You're good. No, what were you going to say? Keep going.
That Darby Allin is a perfect foil for MJF in terms of like what they can be in the future as like a long-term rivalry. That's why Sammy Darby Allin has worked so well. From going from the bottom of the card to the mid card. But MJF is the one who had the chosen one tag right away, and that's why he can go and do like a pipe bomb promo like he did earlier this year in LA. Like none of those three guys can do what he did because none of them can talk as well, or none of them have the opportunity to go out and say how they feel and get away with it like he did.
Right. I think the thing is though, the rest of them have had hardware. Like this is the first time that he's had a title, so that like he's surpassed them in everything but the actual stats that solidify him. You know what I'm saying?
Why did they have hardware and not him?
I mean that's why was
because they needed it to show that these guys are legit. This guy's going to be legit without a title because he can carry every feud he's with and make it matter.
But I think
because they said he would. Whereas but I think like Darby Allin has to matter because there has to be some stakes on the line.
No, you're right. You're right. But I think when you have that conversation of, all right, Black Wrestling presents the top 4 ranking of the pillars. Like MJF is going to skate a lot because of his mic skills and his potential. But I think it's tough to give him a 1 seed for some people because titles do matter. Sammy Guevara was a multiple-time TNT champion. Jungle Boy and them had the tag titles for a bit.
And it was like the fastest to like 60 wins or something like that. And same like Darby Allin, TNT champion, was like
been with Sting. Like he's banged with a lot of, he banged with CM. He banged with a lot of people. Like I think that's always been my thing with MJF. It's kind of
those 3 guys wrestle 3 times as much as he does, and this is the wrestling company.
It's
I think this guy has to stand out more because he doesn't wrestle
exactly
every 4 weeks.
I think that's the key. I think what makes like if these are the 4 pillars, what make 3 of those pillars really great is what you said. They can outperform him in terms of like the type of regular wrestling you're getting in AEW, whether it's flippy stuff, whether it's, high death-defying stuff, risk-taking stuff, whatever you want to call it. Sammy Guevara matches.
It's the modern-day pro wrestling, which is why he has to stand out because he's not going to do all that stuff for a reason, like because I don't want to entertain you that way. Like,
but it's like but the reason is this is probably why Cody fucks with him is because MJF, while
he didn't listen to his own method because when this guy is doing fucking crooked moonsaults and flaming table spots, Cody was again the hypocrite of all by like real wrestling is storytelling in the ring, but like you follow Triple H and his storytelling was weapons and
when he beat you with
a stuff.
Every match is no DQ. Yeah. I think the thing with MJF is it's. I mean, pardon me if this point has been beaten to death before. I don't really pay attention to people's discourse a lot of the time, but he feels like a throwback. Like I don't think it's that he feels like he's ready for the WWE, which it does, but I think it's more because the way he tells the story. I'm not trying to cape for him because I've seen him live and I've been thinking about it. The way he tells the story in the ring, because he isn't able to do what Sammy does or Jungle Boy does, or even Darby Allin.
But he can. I didn't watch the Sammy Jungle Boy matches, but I watched him and Darby Allin from last year's Full Gear last night, and he does hold for hold with Darby Allin, where they try to do as best they can that Savage Steamboat. Let's trade.
Well, I'm not even talking. That's not what I'm talking about. Let me stack all these ladders up and then jump on you on top of the ladders and all that shit.
His whole thing is like, I don't have to do that to myself to entertain you. I can talk on the mic. These guys can't, which is the whole thing.
But I think because of that, his in-ring work, and this is why he's very much a WWE prospect, whatever you want to call it. He has to play to more theatrics. He has to play more to, for lack of a better term, old school wrestling, where it's about the face and it's about, you know, the situations that he gets himself into. It's kind of, God, it's not like Mr. Bean, but I mean, it's like, you know, he's setting up these there's situations.
Last night he was doing the punches, and then he wound up, and then
it's like
punch at the he's Dusty Rhodes.
I think that's the thing. I think because
the flashiest thing he does is that tombstone on the apron, and it's like that's his high spot. Like he won't do.
He was fucking 450. He wasn't in, and Billy Corgan didn't pick him up for NWA.
No, he was in MLW.
He feels, the more I've been watching him carry this Jon Moxley situation.
We'll put up the one of him facing off against all the other guys, because again, what's the main thing these guys have in common?
Wait, this one?
No, like the one that has like CM Punk.
This one.
Yeah. What are all those guys that he's going face to face with?
I mean, they're all WWE. They're
WWE talkers, again. So with this guy again, that like he shouldn't be in this company. He should be over there. What do? Let's have him feud against the guys that were all over there prior to coming here.
But they're all stickmen. They all like
these are the only guys that can hang with this guy in his story, is what they were saying.
Think about because if you look at it, I mean, and again, in the middle, it was him and Cody, like you said earlier. You know, that was the one that we saw coming. You know, that was
Martino Sabisco. Yeah, that was again his introduction to the mainstream. Like, we just got on TNT. People have to know who this guy is. They know me because I was on WWE for years. They don't know who this kid is. I'm gonna make this kid matter.
But if you paid attention, you saw who MJF was. So and
that was a lot of BTE stuff too. Like, they had been building that story for months prior to getting TV.
Let me. I'm gonna say this. I knew what was going to happen with MJF and Cody Rhodes the first time I saw them together. Mm-hmm. It was not. It's the one. It's the one thing that I don't understand about AEW. My thought is,
you mean pairing to break up right away?
My thought is Tony Khan, because we've seen so much. I have to remember that I don't want to call him a traditionalist, but he is influenced by a lot of classic old school wrestling. Like, modern booking, especially in the WWE, and this is probably what it is, it's very, like, you can't, it's a dance. Like, it's never, there's certain situations, all right, this is definitely going to happen, but they try to swerve you so much that you're like, main events can be a crapshoot depending on like 15 different factors and who's actually available to be around at a certain time. Anything could fucking happen at the end of the WWE pay-per-view. I don't know if it's because I've been conditioned to think about booking like that, but it feels like Tony Khan is much more, I don't want to say back to the basics, but like it feels like it, and traditionalist feels like a weird term as well, but like it's kind of like, I think
it's accurate given the stories. Again, like a lot of the stories we're former friends, we're former partners, that, like what wrestling was built on, until they were like, let's get soap opera writers in here and be like, this guy is a sorcerer and this is
it's got to be so many layers. But let me ask you, have I seen too much wrestling? Like, because I knew whatever.
No, you're right. It's like
whatever conversation. Everybody is MJF's got to be a babyface. No. The guy's he's the biggest heel in the company. I understand what he's saying, but he's the biggest heel in the company. I don't know if did AEW fans like proper fans believed that he was going to be turning babyface, because when he cut that promo in the scrum, yeah, of course he's going to be there talking to the media like, yeah, you fucking idiots, writing this bullshit. Like, I don't know who believed. I didn't believe that he was going to be a babyface at any time in this situation. I've looked at no matter, and the problem was Moxley's such a terrible fucking promo right now that even him being the baby face in the match, but being like, trying to be a little Austin, I'm going to talk shit type guy. I guess he was trying to play heelish, but it sounded so stupid to me. And then I'm looking at MJF walking circles around this guy in terms of obvious chess playing. And so I would be insulted that MJF thought he was going to be a baby face at the end of this feud. Yeah. There was no way that was going to happen.
And when you watch like that countdown to Full Gear, like the promo that John Moxley cuts when it's pre-recorded is so much better because it's built off his character of like, look at what I've done. I get back up again. I get knocked down. I get back up. I beat this guy. I beat another guy. I get back up. I keep going. This kid, he wrestles once, and how many months? He can't withstand what I'm going to put him through. But him on Wednesday, like you said, is like, what do I know about MJF? Well, he's a singer. He's a good singer.
He didn't even. It's like he's trying to be funny, and it's like he.
Yeah.
I don't want to say because I think the one thing you didn't mention with the promo that was not live, what you saw may not have been the first take. You know what I'm saying? Like the wonders of editing can be very great, and
not having to worry about the crowd and not having to.
But the funny thing about this sandbox that they allow wrestlers to play in AEW is, yeah, it's cool when you just get bullet points and you get to do whatever you want in your promo, but you have to still come up with a promo. Like you can't just like his personality isn't that ill where piece of shit, badass, good guy John Moxley on camera for 10 minutes in the ring with a mic, not saying anything. You're not Stone Cold. You don't have the crowd like that.
Someone. Yeah. Him on his own. Yeah. Because the whole thing, again, why I said that promo of him and CM Punk was so good is like he had someone to go out against and be like, again, your body's not built to last. Like I am. Again, look what I'm doing. Like all these feuds and like the one with him and Jericho. That one is prior when they were having like they both hate Cody Rhodes, but again they had a feud. But how did it start? MJF wants to be in the inner circle. Like, I guess I know how this is going to end. How he's going to tear it down from within, and then he built his own 4 horsemen. Just like him and Wardlow being paired from the beginning. I wonder how long until this. And I'm not being mad at like the tropes of wrestling. This is wrestling. Like you and I, when you and I see a movie and we don't like it, we are probably like, I've seen movies that have done this better.
All the time, yes.
And this is what's gone. What did I say about the Gray Man? Like, I've seen Mission Impossible. I've seen
here before.
I've seen these guys do what they want to do here in The Winter Soldier. There's just no dude with a shield involved in this. And I'm like, how do you take a step back from what you've given me in terms of like disappointment? And I kind of like that movie a little bit more now, but it's that context of like, I saw something else and you gave me the basics,
right? But I think part of that,
or sometimes too, it's like you give me the basics and it over delivers in the best way. Like sometimes like what seems simple on paper, like a John Wick, they kill this dude's dog, they take his car, and it leads into fucking him murdering everyone. And you're like, this is fucking amazing. It's the most simplest story. Guy's out for revenge. What's he do? Kills everyone.
But they like it's Moxley could thrive in that environment, but he can't be that guy in this.
Well, I'm saying it's just as much for MJF because what's MJF's things like I betrayed my mentor. I'm looking for a new one. I betray him.
Right.
I'm facing my childhood hero in CM Punk, and that whole great story. Like you were my favorite, and you left. You left everyone else, but most importantly, you left me, and I had no one to look up to, and that's why I'm so callous and evil because you were gone and I had no one to look up to. And then the feud with Mox again is just like, you say you're tougher, but you're from over there. You've been a superstar. You want to keep guys like me in the dark. Like you said, you were kept in the dark over there. What happened to you want to do to us. And this stuff of Regal is like, listen, old man, you say that you see all this potential in the youth and who's next, and you can pick out who has talent and who doesn't. Again, like you can say that you found Bryan Danielson and you made Bryan Danielson. You can say that you found Claudio and John Moxley and all these people, but you could have found me and you didn't.
Right.
And that's on you that I'm over here and not over there where I want to be and where everyone says I should be. And that's the story in a way, is like this guy who's, again, this outcast in this company. Because, I mean, and it's not to take it back to, maybe that's what Shane Douglas, again, was supposed to be in ECW, when he's like the guy who's going to technical wrestle in the Extreme company.
That was the thought.
Mm-hmm. Because he couldn't cut it over there. So I'm going to go over here and do this shtick. Or what Matt Cardona was trying to do in GCW. We're going to, like, I'm the sports entertainer, right? I'll show you I can be hardcore. I'll show you I can stand out and hang with you deathmatch guys.
I get it. I even understand the idea of putting the title on MJF now. They don't have a pay-per-view until when? February, March?
They said March 5th was going to be Revolution.
That's Revolution's date. So yeah. I mean, that's a good 3.5 months. I mean, I imagine he's going to have to defend the title at some point.
Well, he'll be defending that title.
Winter is coming
against Ethan Page, and the past winter's coming. He's defending that Dynamite Diamond Ring. If you put that image up, like, that was this guy's title. Like,
yeah, for a bit, he was rocking it for a bit.
He wins the first one and beats Hangman Page. The next year he has to defend it against Orange Cassidy, and then last year he defended it against Dante Martin. And the one on the bottom right is the newer version.
Yeah.
But last year, like, he had the image above is like him in Long Island, when the crowd was like, this is our guy. And they gave him that babyface hometown hero reaction. And he had that great vignette play before. And that kind of gave you the inkling of, like, if this guy somehow turned it around for us to root for him, I could believe it. And not just in a hometown way, because like Matt says, everyone kind of gets cheered in their hometown. But like the way they cheered for him was like, you know what? If there was a purpose for this guy to be like, I'm going to stop cheating. I'm going to stop being an asshole to everyone. Like the whole, like the, well, would it work?
He'd be done. I'll say this. If there's a world where MJF is printing money as a babyface, I don't think it's happening anytime soon. I think we've been for a lot of the pro wrestling world, we've only known him for 3 years. And even in that time frame, we've only really got to see him do what he's doing right now for so long. I'm very intrigued with the idea of him being a champion. I'm intrigued with the idea of MJF being a force in pro wrestling in the future. I don't think we've gotten close to what an MJF heel can be. Like, we've seen him do some sadistic shit, but if he is, I don't know.
The biggest heel thing he did is you put up the one of him wearing the devil mask. Like, that was the biggest heel thing he's ever done. And how did the show end? The people were chanting MJF and cheering him like crazy. Like, this man didn't wrestle in the match. He had everyone get beat up by what we now know as the Firm, and Stokely fucking Hathaway climbed the ladder, took the chip off, and just handed it to this masked figure who came out to Sympathy for the Devil by the Rolling Stones. Like, that was the biggest heel thing he did. And he comes out at the end with the CM Punk video prior, because CM Punk is once again the champ, and we're finally going to get this great story of, like, the roles are reversed. Like, old man, you came back thinking you were going to get this hero's welcome and fade off into the sunset one last time. Right. Meanwhile, you put guys like me under your boot. You now are the reign of terror. Again, it's that classic story with someone like CM Punk is, you hated Triple H for so many years. You're now Triple H.
You're
and
him,
you, and now I'm you. And guess what? I'm not going to play you like how you played you. I'm going to be the guy that ends you.
But, and I think this.
And then CM Punk said, "Fuck these guys. I don't want to be here anymore."
I like to, again. You said earlier that Cody Rhodes specifically called him the future of pro wrestling. You kind of have to look at what would that mean in regards to MJF? He's a guy who is he's not just a heel, but he's an asshole. And it's not that he's an asshole as his gimmick in pro wrestling. It's that he's willing to be the biggest asshole he can be in real life, just so you know that he's an asshole. And he does not care, which I respect. I respect the fuck out of the dedication to the character. He's a phenomenon. Is phenomenal. He's a very. He's probably one of the best promos in AEW.
In terms, no one can talk like he can, and the criticism that I say he's guilty of, and many other people too. Like again, we've seen people do sweat hogs and you loser versions. Joking.
He's very jokey.
Like he plays the hits. Like this worked in the 80s.
Yeah.
This worked in the 90s. This worked in the 70s. Like again, he's a student of the game. He said to Ariel Hawaiian, like, you watch WWE? He's like, yeah, I watch WWE. I watch old stuff. I watch new stuff. If you're not smart, watching and learning, he's a student of the game. It's like you can't be a good quarterback if you don't watch what you've done wrong and those who've come before you to learn from and take this and that. I mean,
but I think even outside of that, I think. Because my biggest knock is probably that I don't, and he doesn't, not that he gives a shit, but I don't need him to be at, like, there's times, especially when he's, I guess, playing babyface to the crowd, where he's too much of that Mick Foley, like, crowd participation jokey.
I'm happy to be here in Buffalo. I got to keep when he showed up with the fucking Josh Allen Buffalo Bills jersey.
Yeah,
and like that was amazing. And
he's good at that stuff.
But the whole time I think we were on the glide chat that night. I'm like, how long until he takes his jersey off? And is like, fuck this shit. I'm from Long Island, and he did that basically.
But that's my it's.
And see, let me tell you what I thought was going to happen last night. To be honest, for real, like you said, like you expected last night to kind of go down. I expected him to win clean. And then punch Moxley at the end with Regal. Like I thought, like
the turn would happen after the fact.
Yeah, I thought he would somehow beat Jon Moxley clean to like show he could do it, earn that baby face reaction. Like I did what I said. I beat him clean at that. And like Jon Moxley shakes his hand, William Regal shakes his hand, passes him the nuts with it, and then he puts them on, turns and like knocks out Jon Moxley.
That would have been smart.
And then they would have ended like that. And on a bigger question mark of like, why did Regal just do that?
Exactly.
Because it would have it would have worked in this story context. And this is what happens when you're like a writer, a dreamer, a romantic. Like you can come up with a story after it's happened, before it's happened. Like when you tinker, like you and I do with being creatives. Not that, and everyone is too, but just like when you've seen the story presented, and you can be like,
I could have done that different.
Then let's do this. Because then after the show ends and like they're looking at each other, then it's like, what does this mean? Instead of, because then you can explain like Regal comes out on Wednesday, like he showed me he was willing to do it clean, he did it, and now that, and the fact that
that's what did it.
Yeah, like the fact that he, instead of just passing him next to be like, don't use your ring, use mine, it's better. Like no, it's like
I think
it's
one of those things where. I'm sorry to drop an image before you even ask for it, but this is what they wanted, right? Like at the end of the night,
it's what the company needed. It was going to go on far too long. I think since I've joined the show, I'm like, they have fucked this guy over in terms of like, why isn't this guy the champ yet? They talked about young talent, and it went from Chris Jericho to Jon Moxley. It had to go to Kenny Omega at some point just for reasons. It had
all these fucking guys, yeah.
CM Punk again, even though it really didn't need to happen, they did it because, like, again, like I got one last ride in me, then the sun sets, and the sun fucking set fast, brother. Like it was, sun's getting real low, big guy. Like
it's crazy.
And again, fucking poor Jon Moxley had to be this workhorse time and time again. It was like, God, just give this guy a fucking break already. And that's when I'm like, you could have created an entirely different tournament, and whether or not Danielson could have won it, but like I said Darby Allin should have won that tournament, and would have been. And they're always like, oh well, Darby Allin doesn't want to be like AEW World Champ, but like it doesn't, or like TNT doesn't want that. They want an established name holding the title to hold the ratings together. It's like, you know why they want that? Because they haven't done a good job of showcasing their young talent as the fucking stars of the day. Ricky Starks has been FTW champ, not TNT champ. Wardlow is a guy who has the skills to be that guy. And so does Hobbs. That was in last night. Like they were holding their own against Samoa Joe, who's like where they were 17 years ago. Of like, this guy's going to be the future. Just wait. And they have all the tools as him. Like
tools right now.
Those two guys are great wrestlers for their size and can do so much. Again, like I actually like Wardlow. Like it's
Wardlow,
crazy he can do high flying stuff at his size.
He hit a moonsault. What was the movie he hit last night?
It's like that corkscrew senton. Yeah,
that shit was hard. Seeing that live was hard. I wasn't ready
his
for
character is just Goldberg in a suit, but like it doesn't matter. Like he gets the crowd behind him. That's all that matters. Same thing. Like, Hobbs comes out, beats dudes up, and people are like, "Fuck yeah!" And they don't talk shit, and that's.
I stood up for Hobbs. I was ready for Hobbs, man. I was ready for Hobbs last night.
But Darby Allin too, like he has that underground cold aspect. The people love Jungle Boy, even though it's like, we're rooting for Tarzan, but again, people love to chant. We've said it for 3 months now. The people are chanting "Scissor Me, Daddy" because two guys with a fucking boatload of charisma and have the skills to wrestle this along with that.
Right. No, facts.
Have gotten this over to be like, you know what's cool? Two dudes putting their fucking fingers together and just like scissoring, and the crowd's like, you know what? Yeah, like if dudes are gonna too sweet for 20 years, we're gonna do this now. Like,
but that's again moments. People they want moments, and I think if they did the Regal turn before or after the bell, it didn't matter. This is what they wanted to get. This was the most important thing that needed to happen that night. Now I'll say this: mention Wardlow. Because my immediate thought the day after is,
what's next?
We've got a heel.
Where do we go from here?
We've got a heel MJF who is on fire right now. Like, he could hold this title at least until March if they really wanted him to.
Oh, yeah, he will. He has to headline a pay-per-view as champ. They can't.
He has to. But who are the baby faces?
God forbid this man gets injured somehow.
But because I like, and I don't want to. Shouts to Keeks. I don't want to can it. I feel like I know where her conversation is going to be going on Monday night. But I mean, it's two things. It's like the fact that this happened the same night that this happened meant that
Wardlow too. Again, like a new era. The Acclaim retains. Like they're the guys at that moment. Even though I'm worried, like. Is this Anthony Bones thing a story thing with his arm, or is it a real thing?
My wife saw that. My wife was like, "Oh, because NJ.com they interviewed him. It was like because he's from Nutley, New Jersey, and he was like, see, I didn't want to say nothing. I believe they called him the first openly gay pro wrestling champ. But the thought was,
well, I mean. Fred Rosser had won the title before.
That's what I'm saying.
Wait a minute.
I don't think he was out though. I don't know if he was out.
I'm saying by him being the New Japan Strong Champion, maybe that's right after the Acclaim won the title. It's probably within like the same.
I think you probably need to check the dates because it's like NJ.com is it's one of my favorite publications out of the state, but just because it's a very good publication and they're usually strong with their fact checking and stuff, so they're going to call them that. I'm assuming it's an accurate one, but I did question if it was specifically with Fred, because I know he
won it in May,
and they won the titles during the summer
and October. Like late September, early October.
Oh, so
it would be Fred Rosser. Maybe that's the thing because it's New Japan. Either way, I mean, because that was the thing after we did the BRP 50. I'm like, oh, Fred Rosser he'll probably definitely be on the 50 this year or on the cusp because of what he's doing and basically what's New Japan USA. But yeah,
I could see strong arguments for Fred making it on the list next year. Makes a lot of sense. But I was gonna say. Because I think you're going exactly where I'm going, where the Jungle Boy had a moment. Mm-hmm. He survived. His fucking forehead looked like he got the cheese grater was on it after that match. Yeah, Acclaimed made they retained Jamie Hayter, MJF. But I think the first key is Godzilla going in and getting that other title from Wardlow, because at this point they don't need the feud. You could have Samoa Joe and Hobbs, but Wardlow just came off before he was fucking around with Samoa Joe. He just came off that feud with MJF, and they have a bit of history. So I think that could be a strong match going into.
Yeah, it's nice. I'm the guy who sent you running.
Give Wardlow. Wardlow don't need to win at Revolution because I don't know if it's time, but give him that match.
Oh, no.
But I would say, And again, because if they want to, actually, it was funny. There was an image of this, and then an image of Roman Reigns with the 2 titles. I think it was funny.
The Joes.
I couldn't find the image, but I couldn't find the image in time. But yeah, I thought that was funny. But we're in a time where Roman has had that title over those titles. He's had the one title essentially over 800 days.
Yeah.
And he's also undisputed champion. But MJF could be champion for a while. And during this time where he fights and goes back and forth with the Wardlows and the Ricky Starks, hopefully, and whoever else is online.
Yeah, it'll be like you said earlier, like the guy who has the crowd in his hand. And I'm not necessarily his biggest fan. I respect him as a wrestler. I think he's overrated as a talker. Like Eddie Kingston will get a shot.
Eddie Kingston could get a shot. Yeah.
Kingston will be like, again, that like kid, you run your fucking mouth all the time. I'm the guy who's going to tell you to shut up. Like, but Eddie Kingston will get a shot, and then MJF will have to prove himself probably against the likes of like a Bandito or a super athletic wrestler to be like, again, these high spot guys, I'm just going to out wrestle them and outsmart them because all they can do is flip. Yeah, Darby Allin could be next up.
Jungle
Boy is definitely next up.
Well, all right. So I'd say I don't think Sammy's going to be in the picture, at least not on any serious thing. Darby Allin's probably going to be a good test for him as a champion. But that Jungle Boy, after all of that, while all of this is going on, I think the thought is going to be watch Jungle Boy and see where he starts going as a singles competitor,
and then wait until Hangman Page is cleared, and he can
wait till Hangman Page.
And the unfortunate thing is we still don't know if and when Adam Cole will be able to come back. But that's a heel against a heel in a way.
It's there are
people that, I mean, if they break up Lucha Bros, Pentagon can be a challenger. And
you know what's funny? I will say this, and we could. I don't know how much more we got to talk about, but with a company that is so, damn, I feel like I'm talking about work all the time, but with a company that is so inspired and influenced by the work of people like Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, it's dope to see them kind of, I mean, I don't know if they're trying to, it's not replicating the steroid era where, oh, Hulk Hogan's in trouble, let's go to Bret and Shawn because they're small in their natural bodies. But like, it feels like AEW is continuing to, because I mean, again, MJF is probably like the stockiest guy out of the 4 pillars. But even then, like, he's still
now.
But he was it looked like he was clearly getting ready for this match as a last week.
This match, that the company he was getting ready for.
But I think the thing is it's interesting to see the influence not just be with ring work or with, you know, whatever else they think goes into the Hitman and HBK, but it feels like they're going towards more natural looking people. It's not, everybody isn't going to be a Wardlow. Everybody doesn't need to be as big as Miro. They'll have Satnam Singh walk out there in fluorescent pants all day, but I think they're making sure that they're putting these guys specifically in based more off of what they can do versus how they look while they do it. You know, and I don't know if that's a purposeful, but it's after last night, it's interesting to see kind of where things are going.
Stacks up.
Yeah, how that company looks against WWE, just in terms of the size of their performers, especially WWE, who has fucking Roman Reigns is their undisputed champion. There's not too many people on that AEW roster that can compare with him size-wise.
Well, that's why, in a way, was it dumb to think he was going to be a babyface? Not entirely, because he came out and said, like, you know, I'm the undersized guy. I have to prove myself by being able to outclass everyone on the mic and then hold my own in the ring. Like, he was trying to say, like, I'm Rudy, like, I'm the underdog, and the reason I have to be a villain is because of this. Like, again, if I was 6'5", everything would be handed to me. I'd have nothing to be angry about. It's like the opposite about like Randy Orton. Like, Randy Orton's bred and chosen to be a wrestler with his size,
right?
And he almost had the burden of like, it's a life I don't want, or like all these skills, you become complacent to just be mediocre or lackadaisical at times. And Jeff, his whole thing is like, no, I'm not gonna be able to lift you up and slam you, and I'm not agile enough to do 450s. I'm gonna work the limb. I'm gonna poke your eye. I'm gonna, break your arm against the post. I'm gonna do all these tricks, and at the end, I'm gonna hit you in the nuts or hit you with the ring to retain. Like we said it last week, or a few weeks with the casualties of the Wednesday Night War, him against Keith Lee. How does he stack up against Keith Lee when Keith Lee goes on this solo babyface run? Well, he's gonna have to wear him down like how they wear down elephants, and like he's gonna have to hit him with the ring. If that doesn't work, he's gonna have to hit him with the belt, and hopefully that works for him to like do a cover. It's that. Yeah.
But you know
old
what?
School heel stuff of like, how does this small guy, chicken shit heel, retain as champ? He has to resort to everything because he's not going to be able to completely out wrestle you.
But let me ask you a question. This is going to be an odd question, but I got a point. You've seen Memento, right?
Yeah.
The thing for people who have not seen Memento is a guy who didn't have he had a short-term memory. Like he couldn't make any new memories. He got his head fucked up in a whole situation. And he went on this, he's trying to be like a half a detective with no memory, tattooing shit on his body and taking Polaroid pictures of people, writing their name, and then putting like important facts or like important things that his future self could try and trigger memories about him. Do you remember what it said on the most prominent thing that was on the back of the undercover cop Teddy's Polaroid photo?
Can you trust him?
It said, "Don't believe his lies."
Oh, don't believe his lies. Okay.
Regardless of what it's, and I mean, it's funny. I've been actually I've been going through YouTube videos and like getting deeper into the film. But for a film that already has a unreliable narrator, the fact that every time, because once it
shows you one part of the story and then shows you the next part out of order.
But once he wrote on the back of that man's photo, "Don't believe his lies." Anytime that man said something to him and he got by himself, he said, "Oh, I'm going to believe the opposite of that." Because every time he says something, I feel like, and it would be dope. I don't know if we can request stuff like this, but if Vin could make a Polaroid of Teddy but have MJF's face on it, I feel like I have a Polaroid of MJF. And on the back of it, I just have to remember, don't believe his lies. So anytime,
but you mean the lies is like MJF,
the lies of I'm being a decent human being. Everything.
Well, that was the whole CM Punk thing, right? Like he says, he tries to go to him like, listen, I had a learning disability.
Yeah.
And the kids would pick on me, and then they would call me, they would make fun of my heritage. And like CM Punk gave him the hug, and then he kicked him in the nuts, and then they bloodied him up. And he's like, "You stupid fool!"
Exactly.
It was basically like he was Wallace Shawn in The Princess Bride. You fell for it, you idiot.
Or I don't know if you've seen. There's a great clip of Gilbert Gottfried in Hollywood Squares, and he was so good because he was very good at making you believe whatever he said, and a lot of the times he would, like, the people would believe him, and then he was bullshitting, and they would be wrong, and he'd be like, "You fool!" And there's one clip he did it. It was like 6 or 7 times in the same episode. The people didn't know if they could believe him or not, just because how well he could. That's MJF. It's a situation where, yes, I will draw on like real life anti-Semitism that I've had in my life, or situations where I'm now in a ring facing CM Punk, but I was such a fan that I can bring this reality in here. But the key, and this is the key that I want everybody to remember. When it comes to MJF, he will reveal these things to you, but you have to remember that he is not telling you these things so that you gain some type of compassion. He does not care. He's trying to get here. Yeah. That's all he's concerned about. If you believe that he's putting the company on his back and fighting, real talk or kayfabe, that man is
to his lies.
What did Eminem say? I joke when I step in the booth, but a lot of truth is said in jest. I think there's a situation where he will use
like that. Yeah,
he will use he will use whatever he can to get you to believe whatever he wants you to believe. But his intention is to grab this title and keep this title. And I think I'm not caping for this man, because when I have to watch the match, I'm not like,
it's the Cody Rhodes thing. It's a solid match. there might be one. I don't mean high spot in like the literal sense of like, ooh, a flip, but like there might be like, whoa, one high spot moment, but the rest is like, it's meat and potatoes. It's, a basic meal and that's it. Whereas like, but we had that conversation a few weeks ago, like, what is a main event match? Is it what Logan Paul delivered? But Logan Paul, it was all literal high spots. It's all it was. There was a storytelling in terms of, and there was, I mean, if it even was, is the thing. Again, this is pro wrestling after all, and things will be fabricated or exaggerated. But MJF, it's not so much watch what I'm doing with this hand, don't mind the other, because like you said, it's always this hand's a lie.
It's literally
watch this hand.
Yeah. Or at the very least, no, like it's kind of like, and this may come from being a person who's like talking to people and maybe trying to get a read on people. You have to kind of understand his rhythms. Like when he's out there and he's kind of jokey and he's making you feel good, yeah, he's being a good host, but he's also trying to get you comfortable. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I don't want to put too much on this. I'm not trying to overthink this thing, but I think the idea of MJF is to get you comfortable, because then once he starts talking that real, like, again, go back and watch his promos where he's talking about people being anti-Semitic to him, people down talking to being, his dreams about being pro wrestling.
Real serious right here. Let me just tell you, I was a kid growing up.
It's no joke.
In Long Island, and what's he do? The switch flips, and he does again. That's why he's the devil, and
he's the Joker.
It's the devil, because again, like the Joker's laughing the whole time, doesn't care. That's the whole point. Like Seth Rollins was the Joker this last run until like he's adopted this weird thing. Him being the devil is like how the devil in the movies is always charming. The guy in the suit with the slick back hair and
enticing you in.
Yeah, I mean, like Al Pacino in The Devil's Advocate or any other movie where like someone is the embodiment of like evil or death or the devil. It's again like you look so natural. Like, what do you mean you're the Grim Reaper here?
Right.
Like, it's the book doesn't match the cover, or like that cliche, whatever. So when he's has a demeanor of like, it's not even a serial killer thing too. It's just like, I'm luring you in because I'm being vulnerable, but what happens next. You can't be. I still have the horns. What do you mean? You look through this? Like, come on. It's
what the Cat Williams say. I mean, that tiger was always a tiger. I mean, just you can't be surprised when it attacks the people.
To happen
like that. That's and I think. Again, after
why the story that they will never be able to tell unless like some magical way they resolve this relationship of like CM Punk being the villain of this man's of his own story now, and this young kid who like challenged him and now is the one who's like, I'm gonna save us from you, to be matter of fact. Like, that story would have been amazing. Like, you came back wanting to be the hero, and all people found out was you were selfish and greedy, and you had destroyed others for being the same, and you even destroyed me for being the same. And now the irony is like, I am still selfish and greedy, but I'm selfish and greedy to stop you from ending all of this. And that's that was a great story that they could have told, and unfortunately, we'll never be able to get it. Yeah,
I was going to say, I think it may just be too late for.
Well, they tried to rewrite it a little bit with Moxley as the stand-in. Unfortunately, we saw Wakanda Forever and how you can try to bend a story to outside factors, and they pulled that off well. But with Jon Moxley filling in for CM Punk, of like, I don't think you got a kid, and like all the crowd will root for you now because you're selling them on you overcoming the odds, and like, listen, I didn't want to leave, I just wanted more money. Like, do I think I'm a bigger star than everyone here? Of course I am. Like, that's why he was able to go on Barstool Sports, and that's why he's now going to be in the Von Erichs movie, and
he ready.
Like, he can't and go on all these talk shows and sell the company that is AEW and be its face, because he is their Miz. And I know that's the easiest comparison to make, but like, he is a guy that is, I mean, Jade Cargill's next step too, and that like the people that you can go out and send to talk to the media that talk shows will want to have an interview and all that. Like, if he wasn't like, if NBC Universal wasn't part of WWE, he would be able to go on like Jimmy Fallon or SNL. Like, he'd be a believable SNL host. But it's that thing where like him as an entertainer, and it's funny, like, because they have the JS, but like this guy is already doing that. And watch him versus Darby Allin from Full Gear. Like, he can wrestle. It's just not a matter like, I think when he wants to, I think when the story calls for it.
Right.
Is the thing. Because the whole thing about last night was just like, I gotta out survive this guy. Like, this guy fucking pile drives me through a table. What am I gonna do to outlast what he brings next? And that was good. Like when Moxley was just like, come on, motherfucker, do something. And he kept punching him and punching him. Then MJF like slapped. He's like, yeah, bring it, come on. Like,
yeah.
And like can he fight back? And the match ends how it ends. And I was like, oh, okay. Like MJF won. That's again, like now you're focusing on telling the story a bit, like the plot details, like something got lost a little bit. Like we didn't tie that loose end completely, or the build up didn't matches. Like it had a good ending and everything else was just shaky territory.
Word. We got to get out of here soon.
Real quick.
Go ahead.
Because this was announced today, and that's the thing. Like, see, not even last night ends with the best of 7 being announced between the Elite and Death Triangle. But when that match ends, you think like, wow, like, all right, the Elite aren't going to be trios champs. Maybe Kenny Omega is going to go on to beat Kenny Omega again. Nope. They announced the best of 7, but somehow he's going to go back to beat Kenny Omega again because he's going to challenge Will Ospreay at the Tokyo Dome.
That's it. That's January.
Yeah, January 4th.
That's great. I mean, I guess
I'm looking forward to it. Again, it's Dave Meltzer's former favorite wrestler against his current favorite wrestler in terms of the star rankings. And I don't mean that as a diss, but like he's surpassing Kenny Omega's star rankings. Well, in the last 2 years, he's surpassed him.
What's their history? They've wrestled.
They had the match. They had a match in PWG years ago. This was before Kenny Omega was the Okada Omega match, in which Kenny Omega cemented his legacy as the best bout machine. And before Will Ospreay was like Will Ospreay, ultimate flippy dude in wrestling. Right. So like this literally is like probably the right time to happen. Like Will Ospreay's at the height that Kenny Omega was a few years ago, and now Kenny Omega is again the old savvy vet. Like, can he still put together? And hopefully he's 100% healthy. Like when he came out last night, he didn't have the tape and bullshit that they were trying to work with that comeback a few months ago in the trios tournament, where like he had the long sleeve shirt on 1 week, he didn't the next, and then by the time it was all out, he was back in regular gear because they were trying to again do that little detail storytelling that the Elite love to do, where it's everything has a layer to it and another layer to it and another layer to it. This is just like him and Will Ospreay. But the thing was like he's like, I'm coming to New Japan to save New Japan because they need me since I left. But Will Ospreay had the great tweet of like, dude, you need to save your own company. Like, look what's happened and what's been happening, and which is like good on Will Ospreay. But they did have that after the Elite beat Aussie Open and Will Ospreay, the United Empire. They had a back and forth on the mic, or that was the week prior to set up the match. They had a back and forth, and it was a little bit like, all right, let's get these two guys solo one-on-one, because that trios match was good. Because Aussie Open's a good tag team, and the Young Bucks are a good tag team. But like everyone's like, it's the same thing what happened at Crown Jewel. Like, let's just get AJ Finn one-on-one. We don't need the spare parts.
Right. I think, and I mean, this could just Kenny Omega's been going for a bit. I think maybe, and because he's the one person we didn't mention in regards to who could be
that's why I was kind of setting up in a way like I think the story of that is like, this dude's just gonna outclass you completely in the ring. Like,
but I wonder, maybe because these trios matches are booked through the early January.
He could be the first opponent at Revolution in terms of the pay-per-view, yeah.
Or I mean, he seems like a person who likes to draw out stories. You mentioned, how the detailed
stuff. Both of them, yeah. MJF and Kenny.
I wonder where he's at health wise. I mean, if they're going to be spending the next month and change doing trios matches, a lot of that means that I'm like, I don't think Kenny Omega's being booked on a Thanksgiving Eve Dynamite, a random Dynamite the week after, but then it's Winter is Coming, Holiday Bash, New Year Smash. Like, they're saying if necessary. They're going to 7 matches.
I was about to say, and what they need to do, I tweeted this last night, is that match 3 needs to be like a Falls Count Anywhere match.
Right. Put some steps
match 4 can be a regular one. Match 5 can be a 30-minute Iron Man match. Match 6 can be a regular match again. And then match 7, 3 apiece. Put them bitches up in a ladder, and these 3 guys and these 6 guys can go out again. Like, you have to, like, you can do single matches in best of 7 and like each have a different ending. And like by the time you get to match 4, if it's not 3-1 or if it's like 2-2 or 2-1, like I know your moves by now. So that whole thing of like I know what spot's coming next works in the storytelling. And by the time you get to like the match 6, you're doing the other person's stuff to counteract. Like their offense has become yours.
Right.
These guys need the stipulations to keep it engaging because people, whether or not you hate high spot wrestling, this is high spot wrestling, and this is some of the pinnacle of that. And I enjoy it. Again, people mock what that super kicks, like that trading super kick spot they did last night.
Right.
And the whole time I'm thinking like, I should have made that video today instead of last Sunday, especially because West Side Gun was in the building.
Do it again. You could do the Super Kick Party Full Gear 2022 edition.
If Lord Vader did like his remix of it, yeah, maybe.
We'll see. I don't think you announced 7 matches, a 7-match series between.
I can't think
these
of
people
that didn't go all 7 in wrestling.
How's it even go 5? How do you say, oh, you may have this amazing 6-man tag match, Denver?
Like you said, especially since it's like you said, it's Thanksgiving Eve in Chicago, which is their second hometown city.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's the random one in Indianapolis. No offense to Trade E, but it's Indianapolis.
Well, again, just looking at the shows, like it's just a Dynamite. Like it's not a themed.
Then it's Winter's Coming, which is a big deal for them. Then Holiday Smash.
Mm-hmm.
Then New Year's Smash, or was it
Holiday Bash,
New Year's Smash, and then the one in Los Angeles. Again, they're back in California. That'll be a big deal. Like they don't journey out to California that often. Like this is going all 7. The thing is, do they walk out with the belts? And like we were trying to say on Thursday shows, like, do these 3 guys then be those 3 guys being the elite, just coast off being trios champs for a while? And then like what we're trying to say right now, do they break off Kenny Omega to then challenge MJF? Not even at Revolution, but like at Double or Nothing.
I mean, that
might be too soon to hit the panic button, because again, MJF is not going to be a fighting champion on TV. Let's get that out of the gate right now. Like,
but wait, Drip. I think the thing is this is a 7-match. What does it mean that it's an AEW World Trios Championship Best of 7 series? What does that mean? Does that mean that the titles are on the line every week?
It's
whoever wins the 7 matches,
wins 4 is the
champions.
Yeah.
So Wednesday, the elite win. They don't have the title.
I'm almost thinking the elite want to do, because Nick Jackson's a basketball fan. I almost think they want to do the 3-1 Warriors deficit.
I could see that, but even still, if they win a match, they don't get the titles. The titles are held until, because the Death Triangle walked out with the belts, and then they said, "Oh, we're gonna have 6 more of these motherfuckers potentially."
Yeah.
It would be weird for me if I was Kenny Omega and I pinned Penta in match 2.
No, because when
unless the titles aren't on the line.
No. The titles not on. They're on the line for the series, not for the match. And I think both times that I can remember Booker T and WWE having one was the best of 5 against John Cena. That was for Booker T had been the U.S. champ. It wasn't
Booker
vacated.
T U.S. title best, because I think he had a best of 7 series. Was it with Benoit?
He had 2. One was in WCW, then they ran it back in WWE. But when he might have been champ both times. One was for the TV. I think the one in WCW was the TV title, and the one in WWE was for the U.S. title. But I think Booker T held the title as champion, but like they still had to compete for the title in the series of 7 matches. Because halfway through, Booker T gets injured, and Randy Orton's his replacement.
Wait, hold up.
Like I can't remember if the title was vacated, and that's why they had the best of 7.
I didn't realize Booker T and Benoit having 2 best of 7 series is crazy. So 1997 Booker T, he won the title from Disco Inferno in December 97. During spring of 98, he began feuding with Benoit. Benoit cost him the title to Finlay. The result, Booker and Benoit engaged in a best of 7 series, with the winner meeting Finlay for the title. Okay, so neither of them had the title, and it determined the number 1 contender. The other one was in 2008. 5.
Yeah.
For U.S. title, Booker began teaming with Benoit. So Booker. All right, so Benoit defended his title. October SmackDown, Booker T defeated Benoit for the United States Championship due to unseen help. Teddy Long later showed footage of Sharmell helping. So they reversed and he gave him a rematch.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to see if there's a moment where Benoit won. Okay, Teddy Long put him in the best of 7 series, and Booker already had the 3-0 lead at that point.
Yeah, I remember that. Like I said, I think end of the 7th deciding match, Randy Orton fills in for Booker T because I think Booker T was legitimately injured.
Orton, yeah. Oh, anyway, that's frustrating. So I was just trying to find a situation where there was a best of 7 series or whatever, and like the champion,
it doesn't trade within the series.
They don't lose the title if they lost like match 3.
Yeah, that's what you're trying to. It's not like, see, PWG does that when they had the DDT 4 tournament. So like 8 tag teams entered, including the tag team champions. Regardless, the winner got a shot at the tag titles. There was the 1 year where the tag champions lost in the first round. So the team that beat the tag champions was the tag champs. For the next round, they lost the titles, and that team that beat them was the champion within the same tournament. And then the team that won the tournament was still the tag champs. And then I think that, yeah, it was a weird booking thing like that, like booking title changes within a tournament. That's why I'm like,
I'd just be wondering.
Yeah,
because I asked that because I was wondering if instead, because like I'm going to assume that Death Triangle are gonna have the titles at the end of this series.
I don't think they will.
I don't think Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks need the trios titles. No, and they've consistently shown that they're okay with not winning. I think my thing is, at a certain point, the Young Bucks need to be going for the tag titles. Kenny Omega needs to be a solo guy. Them being trio champions is cool if they want to be the elite and then have all the titles, but it doesn't feel like that's the case. It feels like right now my thought is Kenny Omega's not 100%. He's enough to where.
Oh no, I have to assume he's 100% now, given the extra time off with the all out.
But what I'm saying is, you may be speaking 100% health wise.
Yeah,
I don't know if he's 100% ready to be doing his level of wrestling match right now. I think there's a reason why they potentially have 7 matches booked with.
If he's thinking of facing Will Ospreay, he must think so himself, because he's got to show this guy like, I'm better than you. I don't think you take that match if you don't think you can hang.
But what I'm saying, mind you, this is the one singles match that we hear of from Omega. We got to get out of here soon. The one singles match we're getting, it's fine. The one singles match we're getting from Omega right now is a New Japan match that, for all intents and purposes, like AEW fans know about it, but it's not going to have any detriment over there. I'm just saying, don't be surprised if Kenny Omega is getting his footing to be 100% in ring with these matches against 3 very capable competitors with 2 very capable people on his side. And the Ospreay match is I don't want to say it's a test, but it's kind of like, here's a match that I know is going to be
a great shape for that.
A great first match to kind of give a great test for him to deal with, the type of competitors he's going to be working on a regular basis in AEW, or potentially at the very least you're getting like the highest caliber to see where he's at. And I think after
their styles are comparable compared to Ospreay styles. Like, they are test runs in that case, but there's almost the aspect too, like, are they really sending Kenny Omega over there to lose to Will Ospreay?
I mean, who knows?
Because what if he comes back as champ and then that best is put the graphic back on? I think January 4th is.
It's the week 6. Before that last match, yeah.
Yeah, so there's the obvious chance, like, he comes back, is IWGP US champ, and there's the whole like, Kenny Omega has a chance to be double champ again if the Elite win this deciding match 7, and Will Ospreay comes out and costs them.
Yeah.
the series, like, and then they have a one-on-one match at Revolution.
They had him being the cleaner not too long ago. I mean, I could see them trying to tease that again with some New Japan gold around his waist or on his arm going into the final trios match. Yeah, I guess that feels like the big. This is also probably like, I'm going to try and get this up tonight. This is like the first time we've done like a whole ass post pay-per-view, breakdown
matchup. We'll be talking on the. Are we doing tomorrow? I guess so.
I don't know. We're going to be, for people on the Patreon seeing this before Thanksgiving. The idea is to have a regular episode up normally. It don't mean we're going to do it
live.
I said,
I don't know. The Niners play tomorrow in Mexico City, and apparently Penta will be there.
We may end up doing Tuesday. I think Tuesday is going to be the absolute last day. I don't want to be recording a show on Wednesday. I got other stuff going on, but we'll figure it out and get that to y'all. This was cool, Trip.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
So overall, how would you rate the experience of Full Gear?
The overall experience, I'd like. If I give Extreme Rules a 4, I'm probably going to give Full Gear a 3.5. There were some dope moments, but I think I was hype. I was much more hype coming out of Extreme Rules. I mean, that was also a Bray Wyatt return. But hey, MJF winning the AEW World Championship. That's a pretty big deal. And
you got to see Jay Cargill as Chitara. You got to see. And she had a decent match with Nyla Rose. Yeah,
she did a thing.
Yeah, that's the thing. Every match it's like 3 stars, and not to always do the story, but like she holds her own on pay-per-views better than she kind of does on TV because she's given more time and
she shows up too. Yeah,
and I think she kind of rises to that occasion. Nyla Rose is good to like throw her around, like
Nyla's good.
Give her a tough match. And what was another match that so that triple threat was a sleeper at the end. I thought the ending kind of was smart, like how Joe kind of comes in and just steals it.
It was really abrupt. I was not ready for that ending, but I'm gonna have to rewatch this paper. I feel like I'm gonna appreciate.
I'm gonna have to rewatch the first 2 matches. The link I had didn't work the best at first, and then I found a good one.
Hopefully,
and that Jamie Hayter Tony Storm match picked up in the last 10 minutes compared to the first 10 minutes. Yeah,
that's one I definitely want to rewatch as well because I'm a fan of Tony's, but I like the performance in that one overall. Shouts to the Patreon.
Yeah, always shout out to whether you're paying the 1 or the 10. We appreciate it. We appreciate you checking out all the other shows too, like Bulls in the China Shop. Shout out to Semp, shout out to Vin. Black Watch every Monday with Fam and Downtown Tony Brown. This week has to be Rock Austin 1, right?
Let me I think this may be the last one that's actually been recorded. That was pre-recorded currently. I think it is Rock Austin 1. Give me a sec.
What a way to end season 1 or
well, I don't even know if they just got to record some more episodes.
Yeah, I know.
But it's managed post. I'm sorry, I'm doing all this on the fly. Scheduled. Yeah, Stone Cold Steve Austin versus The Rock at WrestleMania 15 is going to be going up tomorrow morning. So if you've watched this before Monday, November 21st, you already know what the hell's going on.
Or if you're watching this on YouTube, that's stuff that you can't get on YouTube. You have to head over to Patreon if you want to watch Fam and Downtown Tony Brown talk about WrestleMania matches featuring Black wrestlers. You also have the Black Wrestling Podcast Club, which is you and Math, or you reacting to stuff.
The reaction's been fun. Shouts out Ken Lou, Kofi Jamal. They've been digging the reactions. I got to get back on that.
And what else we got? Again, Turnbuckle Talk, because Twitter's still live, so that's where you can find Mimi Shells every Tuesday. You met Corey last night. Kicks are my fix. My kicks are my fix.
Facts. It was good seeing him. Real brief out in the lobby.
Yeah. Whereas Buffy every Friday on BRP's YouTube, and then Tuesdays, right? They're on their own, or Wednesdays?
Tuesdays. They go live Friday nights on Black Wrestling proper YouTube podcast shit, and then they're up for maybe like 12 hours. By Saturday morning, it's gone. And then it drops regularly. Audio and video should be dropping Tuesdays over on Where's Buffy podcast on YouTube, as well as the Where's Buffy audio. I think it's been about a month and change since Buffy's been back on a regular basis, and I think it's been great conversation. It came back. Actually, it was
International Podcast Day, which was
International Podcast Day was the first recording in a bit. But yeah, it's dope conversation. Hopefully 2023 will be an interesting year for that. And actually, one final thing, Something Else Season 2 returns this Wednesday. I'm not going to tell you who's on it, but it returns this Wednesday. There's they got a couple of dope episodes in the can. So yeah, 11/11 Wednesdays on youtube.com/Black Wrestling. They back. I think that's it for now.
Yeah. You can find me on Twitter at Davis AK. Twitter still exists. I don't think it's going anywhere. Right?
Twitter does still exist, and yeah, I'm not like, oh my god, I need to get my last tweet off. Like if it leaves, it leaves. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But yeah, I think it's gonna take a little longer than people.
I think it's just they're having a down period. It'll pick back up. I think it's
when you get a report that he locked the doors, people go crazy.
But did he go and lock? Imagine if he just went and locked every door himself.
He said, "Hey,
yeah, that's what I
hit the door button so nobody can get in." All right, see y'all next week. That's all it was.
You can find me on Twitter at Davis aka Drip, Instagram Davis:DC. Banks vs. Davis every Sunday live on YouTube. Banks vs. Davis Patreon. What about you, Khal? Where can people find you?
At Khal on Twitter still. At Black Wrestling on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. BlackWrestling.com is the website. And again, every Thursday, 8:35 p.m., giving you 5 mics of Black Wrestling excellence podcast format. Always, shouts out to Mimi, Fam, and Math. Piece of you, Drip. Shouts to Ray Phoenix for beating.
Shout out to all you losers because I'm still the champ. Again, what if I just came in full MJF and like you fucking dipshits who can't even.
You better get your promo ready for this week. But this week is also Survivor Series, so you may not.
As we called it last year, Survival Series.
Survival Series, yeah. Survival Series War Games is going on. That's maybe the name of the episode for this week. Yeah, I think that's it. Talk to y'all soon.
See y'all next time. Peace. Shout out to the droplets.
Peace.
Yeah, absolutely, Rick.